And very good morning here on Wolf of Dubai. Obviously, we are going into a deep dive on the NVIDIA earnings last night. For me, last night. Maybe for you, the late afternoon or the early evening. NVIDIA, one of the market leaders, guys. One of the market leaders for graphic cards, chips. They just announced the Q1 quarter earnings, and as expected, they profited a lot of e-gaming and a lot of changes into the stay-at-home economy, and therefore I believe that this is a quite good earnings. So beat on EPS, beat on revenue. So nothing that, surprised too much. It met the expectations or even a little bit above, but the stock didn't move. So the NVIDIA stock had a run already a couple of days prior to the earnings. Maybe that's why, it was not too bad, not too good. So therefore, we stuck somewhere in the place. So let's have a look what is important. So I just have to put the first graphic here onto the screen, so bear with me a second. Meanwhile, you could thumb up. This helps the channel and the live stream obviously every single time, guys. And I'm highly appreciated because this means the world to me. And basically we can switch to the graphic now. So as you can see here, those are the most important, or this is the most important summary here. We have the EPS was $1.8 adjusted. Then we had the revenue of $3 billion, guys. We had an anticipation by Wall Street of about 1.69 for the EPS number and 3 billion on the revenue side. So you see the consensus was beaten by those numbers and at NVIDIA, and they said, obviously the crisis created some challenges in supply and demand, which, obviously you have to imagine that it's not only always about the demand only, right? There's also huge supply chain from big suppliers that's trying to get their production as on the very high level as they can. And then on the other side, you have very small suppliers that may be more affected by those crises. We see something like this also in the auto industry, where, mid or small size suppliers are saying, it's very critical for us, guys, right? We don't have this big bailouts by the government or the big support by big balance sheet cash positions that they can survive some health crisis like this. However, we shall see how this develops further for the NVIDIA stock. However, they also gave a guidance, guys. So I think that's pretty much great, because, I feel like companies that will thrive through that pretty good gave a guidance, and who are anticipating, big impact, don't give any guidance at all. But let's have a look. So if you look into last year, then we had a 0.88 EPS on revenue and 2.22 billions in revenue. So you can see, like, NVIDIA is really growing, guys. Okay, so they had a really good quarter, and they're expecting 3.65 billion in revenue in the second fiscal quarter with a gross margin. This is really good, guys. These are software companies' gross margins of almost 60%. So very interesting. I personally, I'm not into NVIDIA. I think I was NVIDIA shareholder for a short bit of time, but in my personal opinion, there's so many other interesting stocks out there that I make a very small selection of very small window of stocks. I don't like to have 30-40 stock, because then you just get crazy to follow all of them. And I believe that it's quite more interesting. Like Peter Lynch said once, one of the biggest and best investors always, you know, just have a handful of stocks that you follow, and this is then pretty sufficient for your portfolio to be maybe beating very much the index, and your performance will be great if you are a good stock picker. However, you know, this is obviously very, very hard, as we know. However, let's see what the stock of NVIDIA were doing after their earnings. So we had after hours almost no change, guys. Okay, the stock doesn't move, minus 0.57% here after hours, but the days before was pretty good. We gained here from 315 to this 351, so we gained about 11% here since the last Friday on the 15th of May. So you see that you know, it's quite insane growth already in the last couple of days. So I don't think that, you know, this makes a huge change for them. Everything was like perfectly expected, and you know, not a huge beat, just a small beat. So you know, I think that's reasonable. Let's see how the overall day will impact that, because I think there will be a profit taking in many companies, because we have a long weekend. Monday is no trading day, guys. Okay, Monday is the stock market close. So I think today maybe people will say, you know, we had a great run this week, so let's take some profit home and have a relaxed long weekend. Okay, here we have the market cap of $215 billion and a PE ratio sky high at 77.58 as of this moment. Small dividend as well, and yeah, so pretty much that's it. There was nothing big that I saw in their earnings release. You know, obviously they said, you know, it's 39% higher. So this company is really like a growth company still. I think, you know, if you want to invest into the space of graphic cards, you know, that are used also for example, Bitcoin mining, or you want to go into the e-gaming space, then for sure NVIDIA is an interesting play. However, for my personal opinion, I don't know, it must go that well for the future. Otherwise, the stock can get, you know, pretty beaten up. It's really priced to perfection, in my personal opinion. We have seen something similar when the Bitcoin price went down. And obviously this brings less business to NVIDIA, and NVIDIA had to run on their graphic cards because of the Bitcoin mining industry. And we have seen that this was a huge impact on the stock, and the stock lost so much. And therefore, you know, I'm not a big fan, you know, I'm rather investing into companies that have huge potential and that Wall Street don't see it so far. Okay. Yeah, some other highlights here. They completed its acquisition of Mellanox Technologies. And otherwise there was not big surprises, you know. So if you want, always it's important for you guys to look into the earnings call. If you're an investor, make sure to really watch those earnings calls, because those earnings calls are important for you to understand what are the next steps for the company, how the management react on questions of analysts, right? Which tone is being used. So this is very important, guys. So head to the YouTube or maybe on the website of NVIDIA, and there's always a replay or an earnings transcript. This is the minimum. If you're an investor in a company, read the earnings transcript if you cannot find or watch or listen to the earnings call. But if you have the chance to do that, then listen to the earnings call, guys. It's so important. I cannot stress this enough. And yeah, otherwise you can always find all information in the let me have a see. Highlights is also maybe quite important for NVIDIA and data center. Obviously very much very good growth rates here also. You see here 18% up, 80% up, 10% up, 27% up in the gaming, right? So those are really, sorry, I need to show it to you obviously here. So gaming 10% up and 27% up from a year earlier, and data centers even was 80% up. Right, then we have professional visualization 15% up, automotive 7% up. You know, those are the highlights of the earnings, and you see this company is still growing, guys. Okay, so there's still potential in the stock. If you want to invest in, definitely something to worth look into. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget the thumb up, and I see you as always in just a little bit of time. Thank you for watching.